welcome to yet another episode of the Roast of BNMA. We are gathered here today. I'm kidding. I'm joined on this episode of The Bald Box by two very beautiful women. These are women who I have known for at least half of my life. They are amazing. They have really shaped who I am and how I think as a man through their actions and through how they live their lives. They are accomplished in their respective fields. I went to uni with both of them.
Just stop there.
Let me finish. I went to uni with both of them.
That's enough.
And I love them.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So I'm going to start on my right with the unajitetea sana. But anyway, please introduce yourself.
Okay. My name is Adelle Onyango. I went to university with Bien. And I am the founder and host of a podcast called Legally Clueless, and the founder of the Adelle Onyango Initiative that works to end sexual violence and make sure women who've experienced that on the continent get access to free therapy.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right. Adelle, I just want to tell you now in front of camera that you're so amazing.
Gosh, thank you.
Like watching you grow, the person you've become is a beautiful thing. It's inspiring.
Thanks.
I wake up and I grind, and when I'm on Adele mode, I'm on Grease mode, I'm moving.
Yeah.
So Adele mode is just, you're doing amazing things, man.
Thank
what you
you
said to Macron the other day about the French.
Yeah.
It was also so touching, like, as an African there, I'm with you,
Thank you so much.
Yeah, so may you just continue growing exponentially.
I claim it.
On my left.
Hi. Again, Adele is one of those people who...
Introduce
I know,
yourself.
just give me a compliment. I want to give me a compliment.
Okay.
Let her give it.
See, why can't I just... Kenyans, I swear.
Give.
Are you just angry because I didn't compliment you? So your head looks nice. So, Adele, I have, there are very few people on this planet who I hang out with, and I feel so... I've done nothing with my life.
Oh, come on.
Adele is usually it's not a bad thing. You're very, especially when you, when I talk to you and we hang, you kind of make, you make people want to, get their lives together.
That is so sweet. Thank you so much,
and then we wake
guys.
up on Monday and we're just let's just continue half-assing life.
You make me cry and my lashes will fall off, so.
No, but it's true though.
Enough.
It's genuinely true. It's genuinely true. You're so hardworking, it's crazy. Anyways, hi, I'm Joy Kendi. I am a fashion and lifestyle content creator, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, things like that.
All right.
Yeah, and I mainly just do content on that.
So I met Joy in class.
Oh gosh.
The first time in our lives. We were very young.
Class?
It was called FYE.
Yes, FYE.
Yeah, first year experience in uni. And I was just like, hey, umdemanongezi makizungu ni nani, man. She was winging from here to Timbuktu.
I was straight off the boat though. I was straight off the boat.
SIU.
No, but I was...
Hey, show you things, man.
No, but I was straight off the boat. I didn't even know a word of Swahili. I only knew jumbo.
And you've worked, in Kenya, you've really built the culture. Watching you do your influencer thing, you're on another level. You're the Eliud Kipchoge of influencing in this country in the sense where, you set the trends we follow. You just you're critically acclaimed globally, by YouTube, by CNN, by all of these, whatever global brands.
Yeah,
and
she runs it herself.
And you run everything yourself.
Yeah.
Boss bitch, this chick shoots, edits, does everything herself. And
true.
It takes time and you work super hard. And you inspire me. That's why you're here. The both of you are exactly what I would love for my daughters to be when they become.
I was going to ask, is there something you want to share?
Yeah, I was like...
So my wife is pregnant.
Babes.
We have
Wow.
Hey, no, not yet.
Hey.
Not yet. Pull that game so strong. Hey. Today I just have a couple questions. I wanted to talk about gender, and I didn't think it was right to speak with a man and a woman in the panel. Previously on the Bald Box, we've only done bald men. Mm-hmm. We've only spoken to bald men. And because I just thought the platform would be nice for bald men to shed light and wisdom to the world. But now, on this gender topic, I feel like men don't have a voice. With where the world is headed, men need to listen. So I'm here to listen, and I'm here to grow, and I'm here to catch myself. Because of patriarchy, I haven't been able to catch myself many times.
Yeah.
And I feel like I've also taken advantage of the system many times.
Yeah.
So
I don't feel like it's taking advantage. I feel like a lot of people actually don't even know that they're doing it.
Yeah.
It happens to them more.
Yeah. So this, when this is over, I want people to be conscious, to instances where they're benefiting of patriarchy. I want people to be sensitive when they're dealing with our women. I want people to be more thoughtful of how they raise their daughters and how they treat women. And I want to learn as well. Like, I just want to grow.
I think
And
that's
also how they raise their sons.
And that's such an important headspace to come into these conversations with, because I think very many men try and ignore the fact that they benefit from the system. And they also ignore the fact that the same system that's crashing us is in very many ways crashing men. So when we're fighting to end it, it's not only going to benefit women, it will benefit men as well.
Yeah.
But to come into the conversation, you kind of have to say, okay, I want to learn, and I acknowledge that I can do this, whereas you can't, you know? And so, yeah, that's a really good foundation to start off.
It is. What's your grooming process like? You know, more often that's the first question.
Yeah.
What's your grooming process when you shaving your hair, Joy? Because as a bald woman,
Yeah.
there has to be a flow of how things go.
Well, I'm not only just bald, but I'm also blonde. So this is a process.
Yeah, it's bald, blonde.
Like all of it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I shave my own head. I rarely ever go to barbershops. Hey, COVID, the lockdown, you learn things quick.
Wow.
So you shave your own head
I shave my own head.
in front of a mirror. I used to do it,
Just
but I
in front
left
of my-
patches everywhere, man.
No, you just
Patches
keep...
of what?
Like
hair.
sometimes, like if you clip
Where
it
is
wrong, like you can miss, because I've actually had moments where I've missed a section and you almost have like a rat tail growing in the back. Like if you miss, things happen.
Yeah.
But it takes like, I mean, COVID taught me, because I there was a moment where I was looking to go rough. And even
We were all
Hey.
there.
My hair was growing out, and you know that beginning part when your hair grows out. And then I also I've over processed my hair for so many years,
Right.
so it was like half of it was dead, the other half was trying to see if it feels like it wants to be there.
It's like hanging on.
It was hanging on for dear God, so I
Yeah.
dyed it black. Then it was just like dye it black was still dead.
So is this the year your hair betrayed you?
It betrayed me so
Okay.
hard
Okay.
last year. Anyways, so I got clippers off the internet. I Googled how to shave your head, because I almost shaved it without the guard. I almost just went straight. I was just gonna go CBC, and then immediately my man was like, you know, you need a guard, and I was
Yeah.
just like, for what? Because you'll go to the skin. I was like, oh, figured it out.
Damn.
Just shaved. You just do it in circles until you've done it for long enough
and you
that it
touch-
stops making the noise.
Oh Lord.
You know the.
Yeah.
This is so informative for me, because
Yeah.
like I've shaved my hair twice,
Yeah.
like by myself, but I just got bored of seeing it grow, and I'm trying to worm my way into the bald life.
It's so nice.
I'm telling you,
For a
man.
poem,
Like
so
the
let's see.
showers.
The showers are shorter.
Not even shorter. They're
And
amazing.
beautiful. Like
Yeah.
when the water hits your scalp, it's a different high.
It's different.
Yeah.
It hits different.
Adele, were
Okay.
you ever shaved bald growing up as a punishment?
No.
Okay,
Oh
okay.
my God, my mom
that'd be
was
so
very
mean.
like that's so mean.
Yo, people
Imagine
have done
that-
that so many times. Yo, I remember this one time. I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, but my mom did shave my sister's hair one time.
What did she do to
Hey, I
deserve
don't
a
even.
shaved
No, I
head?
think she. I don't know, man. Things are complicated. My sister cried her eyes out.
Of course,
Yeah.
that is traumatic.
Imagine I would rather get
It's
whooped,
traumatic.
especially at, like
Yeah.
as a young age. Like you know, you like your looks and like what you look at the moment is such an important aspect of
It
who
is.
you are.
Especially now more than ever.
I think of it like just in general, any form of, because I grew up in a household where like my mom would explain why you're getting, and we wouldn't get beaten all the time,
Yeah.
but it would be a conversation first, like you
Wow.
did this and this was wrong and there's repercussions for it, so this happens. So that one I can't relate.
Mothers.
Yeah.
Hey, I've seen things, man. I've seen like African homes shaving their kids' hair off as a punishment. Like my neighbor went out to carnival this one time to party, and when she came back, her parents were pissed. They cut her hair. And she went to school, to boarding school. So like I've seen that being a repeat, offense. Anyway, but
I know. Well, no, that's
I
me.
was just asking you about your process.
Thank God
What's your
I can't
process, Adele,
relate.
by the way?
Oh my God, so I only got dolled up for you. So
Alright.
I recently stopped putting on any foundation and stuff. I think COVID as well.
Yeah.
When the masks came, I was like, why? And then with time, I was just like, actually, I'm okay with like my natural skin and everything. So other than just like cleansing, toning, moisturizing, black seed oil is amazing, guys. And it's really available everywhere. in this continent. So that's something I swear by. Yeah.
So would you tell us to make a product for bald men with black seed oil?
I think so. Okay, I don't want to say the girl I get it from is like, it cures everything. I'm just like, okay. Control yourself. but maybe she's onto something. So maybe it could help. Because I do know that there's some women who use it for their hair. So
Okay. So yeah, a bald man, black seed oil coming right up. So I'm here to ask you some questions. These questions will make me very uncomfortable sometimes. I don't know. I've just seen them and I hope the conversation doesn't go where it's going. But it needs to go there because I represent a majority of men who are uninformed in gender issues. I want to be informed and I want guys to learn. First question. As a woman growing up, was it easier to talk to your African dad or mom? And why? Assuming your dad and mom are African.
I also didn't have an African dad. So no.
Right.
Yeah, I was just like...
mom, okay, you're both... But then you guys are mothers.
Single mom.
Yeah.
So...
For a lot of... So my mom and dad divorced when I was in class 6. But even before that, as I've mentioned about my mom, she's very progressive. So our relationship was like friends, and we're 3. So she met each of us where we're at, and we're 3 very different girls. My dad, I think, in hindsight, because hindsight gives you a lot more clarity, I think, yes, he had a drinking issue, but I think below that there was like stuff he hadn't healed from his past. Not to make excuses for like the crap that he did, but because of the type of person he was with anger and all of those things, I just didn't have the opportunity to foster a relationship, you know? Nobody wants to talk to somebody who's angry all the time. And then, but I was blessed to have a lot of like male figures in my life even after the divorce. So like my uncles and stuff like that. And so I do have uncles who I'll talk to about like boy stuff or whatever when I was a teenager. But because of the nature of that relationship that then went into like a single mother structure, I would obviously be closer to my mom. I don't think it's a gender thing. Yeah. I think there are African women who are close to their African dads. I think you just have to be an intentional parent, whether the 2 of you are together or not, to be able to be like close enough with your kids. Yes, there's a bit of fear, but like they need to be able to come and tell you, okay, I messed up here and here,
exactly.
you know? Yeah.
Hey, you know, the common denominator with all these conversations has been being intentional. Like it's such an important part of life that I actually hadn't really focused on.
And I feel like a lot of our generation now has actually started to understand that, especially when you look back to your parents and your grandparents and how they raised their kids and how you were raised. That like a lot of us are trying to break that cycle of just surviving as parents. Like I don't know if that makes sense. Like a lot of parents were not intentional parents. They just happened to be parents. No. Yeah, like I'm very close with my mom. When it comes to I've always had a filter issue. So my mom just had to deal with whatever I brought up, whether it happened or not. Yeah. I think even the sex talk, I went at it. Yeah. Like straight out of school, they started doing the whole sex talk in school in like 5th grade, standard 5, and I just came home and I was like, I got so many questions about vaginas and things.
Damn.
And she was just like, I need to go to work. What? But then I forced it when she came back home and she's like, all right, let's do this.
Yeah. Let's talk about sex.
Yeah, basically.
But don't you think it's also the environment and the system that they grew up in?
Yeah.
They had to stumble around, and not to bring it back to like colonization, but we did have structures, even if you're talking about the sex talk. Yeah. At least in my culture, it would be my grandmother who would talk to me about like boys and sex.
Yeah.
But when
aunties.
Yeah, but when we just like, because I always used to wonder, my grandma would tell me like some things that I'm like, hey, I'd go to my mom and like, talk to your mother, control her. It's like, this cannot be what we're talking about. Like, if she sees me in a crop top, I remember once she saw me in a crop top and she was like, yes, go get them because men can't resist the midriff. I was like, what is going on?
All right.
And then my aunts and my mom are the ones who told me, actually, she's doing what she knows, where she was the one who was meant to give you conversations about this. She was the one who would sneak you out of the house, knowing that you're going to hook up with a guy and like tell you how to have like safe sex and all of these things. But we disrupted that. And so our parents didn't know what to do going forward, right?
An entire generation of kids in the middle there that just lost the whole connection with
yeah, like how do we have this talk?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
I've never spoken about sex with any of my parents.
Yeah.
Really?
I bet my mom still thinks I'm a virgin because I don't have kids.
Yeah.
So she probably thinks me and Chiki have never had sex just yet. And
Oh, you guys are still
she
waiting for the
knows.
special day.
You know, for the special day, but she knows. Hey, okay. That is. Do you have anything to add to that, Joy?
No, I mean, like, yeah, I agree with everything that she's saying. And I think,
Great.
like, it's not even just a Kenyan thing. It's, like, the entire planet that basically was ever colonized
Yeah.
went through that.
There's a lot of disruption.
A lot of... When I went to India for, a random job a few years ago, when they're telling me the history of India and the Kama Sutra and everything like that, and, like, how once they were colonized, how things changed significantly within the country, that to the point that violence against women has skyrocketed in the country since they were colonized, because it used to be actually a very free sexual country of just live your best life as long as everybody's consenting, meditate, just live, like, just have a good time. And then of course, you know,
Western
the white man
ways.
came and it was just like, I don't like, even for example, saris traditionally they're actually not supposed to wear a top underneath.
Ooh.
Like years, I mean, of course, like before.
Yeah, yeah.
And then the white man came and he was just like, your nipples make me uncomfortable. And then
Sexualizing
everybody
the
else
nipple.
was just like,
We
why
had a
are
conversation
sexual? Like, we
here.
were not sexualized before. Now
Yeah.
we're overly sexualizing us. Now
Mad.
Yeah.
everybody now has to be conservative.
We spoke about it yesterday, where we said, like, I think as a society now we've really over-sexualized nipples.
Not even over
And
sexualizing
traditionally, when I look at when I
everything.
see pictures there's a page on Instagram called Kenyan History, and you just check it out, and Luo chicks are standing there with perky boobs.
Yeah.
And
I
it's
mean,
dope.
there's some areas in Southern Africa where
Even in
that
South Africa
traditional,
itself,
Yeah, imagine.
you know, look is still on.
Yeah, and
you know?
imagine when I see such things like King Soti's parade and everything, I don't get aroused.
Yeah.
Like,
and
it
even
feels
if
more
you
cultural
do,
than it is-
it's
than
a
sexual,
you
you know?
problem. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
yeah.
it shouldn't now be my responsibility to
to
figure
deal
out.
you
with
had to act.
your
You know what
discomfort.
I mean? Like
yeah.
that one is, hey man, that's a you problem.
Yeah.
Is there anything your mom ever said to you when you're a kid that has stuck with you to date as a woman? And it has to be something to do with the experience of being a girl.
I feel like my mom just, I think, it's about to get dark, but like, I feel like I've always been very aware of like the dangers of being a woman in general. So like, even when I was young, my mom just always used to like teach me the aspect of if you're ever walking and you like any man, like I'm always very alert when like a man, even in my neighborhood, I was doing my power walk yesterday inside my neighborhood and there was a man behind me, and the entire time I was like pretending like I'm just walking, but I'm still having my peripherals at all times. And that was just something that my mom taught me, like just always, if you're around men, it doesn't matter if you're your age, older, always be very alert about with everything that's happening around you, because you just never know.
Ish, man, you know, as a dude, I've never had to think, okay, growing
You
up
can
in
get
Africa,
raped
you have
today?
to think.
Yeah.
No, I could get
It's
mugged.
an actual genuine
But yeah,
Yeah.
like, you know, for a guy, you're so sure of yourself when you're leaving the house. You don't leave the house thinking I could get raped. You just leave the
Like
house
mud,
thinking,
yes.
okay,
But
hey,
yeah.
another view simu. Hey, but that's deep.
But I think for us, it's like you know how preparing for concerts, people are like, oh, I have my kabambe or whatever. That's like a fifth thought for us. You know what I mean? Like we've thought about what are we wearing, who are we going with, how are we getting there? If we're cabbing, so that means I can't go alone. So I have to hook up with two other people, and so we'll be in the cab
Drinking,
together.
who's gonna
who's
hold
drinking,
what?
who's not?
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? And
You guys are literally surviving every day. Like, it's like a-
Exactly.
But the worst part is it's such a second nature for us. Like we're not like in the house being like checklist.
Yeah.
Like it's just something that your brain just automatically does.
like, you know, I'm going
Or-
to town, jeans.
Exactly.
What?
You know what I mean? Like it's
Or even like I've even had moments where like I'm in a cab, I'll wear something like girls' night or
Yeah.
whatever. But now we're not 30, so girls' night starts at 4. So at 4 p.m. you leave your house, because also I still need to be home by 9:30 because I need to sleep. But like I'll like leave with like a cute little blazer and like a cute little jumpsuit underneath that's like short. But even when I'm leaving the house, I'll still always have like a scarf that is
cover.
very light that I can
Yeah.
roll and still put in my purse in case if the car just, I don't know, they get a flat and I have to get out and I'm in Kangemi.
yeah.
God forbid my legs are out in Kangemi.
Yo.
So you just need something, I just wrap myself and like I'm prepared for the worst.
And you know, like the worst part of all of these safety tips or whatever, they're not working.
They're not.
You know what I mean? So even
You can do
when
everything, but still.
they're not working. So it's not even a viable route to say, okay, this is how we're going to end sexual violence. Everybody carry a scarf. They're just not
Perfect
working.
example about like it still doesn't
don't.
matter when it comes when there's always those arguments that random men make, even some women, where they'll be like, oh, she was raped. Oh, it must have been what she wore. But let me tell you something that's a perfect example. There was a time I was working in Tao just after college or whatever, and I had left my cousin's house, and because I'd left her, like she gave me like my other cousin, like his clothes, so I was wearing like his jeans, a pair of combat boots, one of his gigantic sweaters, and I had my hair in my ponytail. Somehow, still walking in Odeon, a random man grabs my hand and I do this, and then another one comes behind me and like plays with my ponytail and just, hey, go so smart. Like it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I can look like a boy, and I had no makeup. I think it was probably from the night before. Like I was like looking to the Rashwa, I was dehydrated, but still, I was still touched uncomfortably, unnecessarily, when I was dressed head to toe, covered, baggy. But then when you still wear something sexy, now that's too sexy. So like where like
it just
do we
doesn't
just
work.
lock ourselves
so
in the
that's
house?
not even a side of a conversation when it comes
I
to
think
like
it's-
ending sexual violence that is even worth exploring.
It's
You know,
unlearning, and then we just have to have a special focus. Like we have to have a special focus in our curriculum that speaks on this, because I think now it needs to be treated as a pandemic.
oh, it is.
It is a pandemic, and it needs to be treated as such. As I learn more, man, I've been talking throughout the other interviews, but here I'm just quiet. Nimenyamaza tu niko like, wow.
For Bien to be
As a
silent.
dude, before I leave the house, the only thing I have to make sure is, my mom told me,
just charge your phone.
charge my phone,
Power
wear
bank.
clean underwear, in case you faint and they have to open
I
the
know.
pants. My mom
That's
always
my
told me,
favorite
wait,
mom thing.
always be in clean underwear.
This is the first time
You
I've
may
heard
Wait, you
that.
were never told that?
And people have to open your pants.
My mom always used to tell me, be careful what underwear you wear and your bra. What if you faint and you have to go to the hospital?
You know,
and I'm
man,
like, I don't think
I mean,
they
at that time,
care.
it doesn't matter, man. You know. And yeah, just the nice socks, man.
That's the first time hearing that.
In case I have to take off my shoes somewhere.
I thought all African moms tell you, like, wear good underwear. What if you faint?
Yo, I'm telling you, but yeah, as a dude, that's all I have to think about is my phone charged. You
Yeah.
know? And
And even then, you'll
And
just get a
it's-
new charger somewhere else.
And
even
even
then,
like-
like today I didn't come with my phone charger. I was like, okay, on set, nitapata charger.
And it's so irritating, like when you get responses, especially like if I'm having conversation around sexual violence and other women who talk about their experiences, and we're angry, and everybody's just like, "Oh, you're a feminazi," or "You're just angry." Wouldn't you be
Why do you
angry
hate
if
men?
you lived this life
Yeah.
every single day?
Yeah.
Like
I would.
any human being would be angry.
I had to catch myself, you know. Chiki was always telling me that I'm not passionate enough about women's issues as I am on other things. And so many times, for example, when the Me Too movement happened, I posted, I spoke about it briefly in my circles, but Chiki was going on and on about it, you know, and at some point I was like, bana, history ya feminism inaweza kuichosha kichosha kwa nyumba mazee, just get into the house. But when it was Black Lives Matter, I was all over it. I was talking about it all the time because finally something that affects me was happening. So as a dude also, as I'm checking myself, I have to feel as much passion towards making the experience of being a woman in this nation, in this world better as I feel for black people. Because those things affect me directly. If right now they say the new virus is from South Africa, I mean, I'm just from SA, so you can't go anywhere in the world. That's just racism, you know. That's now I feel like as an African they're affecting me, but women have to go through these things every day.
Yeah.
Where we live and we learn. What did your parents tell you about relationships? Did they talk about it? Did they practice what they preached?
Wow.
Okay, I don't know. The part of did they practice what they preach? Leave them alone. Those are your
Yeah,
parents.
their life.
But did your parents ever speak to you about relationships?
I think
Do
what's really interesting is like I had my first relationship because I went to high school in Botswana, and then I came back and joined Saints. And then I got into my first relationship like maybe 2 weeks into Saints is chop chop. There's no
Yeah.
And at the time, my mom's policy was she wouldn't buy us cell phones. You had to work to either afford half and then she'd top up, or you just stay without a cell phone. And so I was using the same cell phone with my mom while in a relationship.
We've all been there, man. Mom, can I use your phone, Mom?
Wait, how old were you?
You're texting and deleting.
I was 15.
Not having a phone at 15 is such a normal thing. Those were the days when you left your house, you tell your
Yeah.
cousin, I'm going to meet you in Tao at 3.
And you're
She
on
needs
time.
to be there
No,
at
but then
3.
it's like
If
chats
they don't show
where
up, you
she
just
was
don't
like,
wait.
oh, so you guys have moved. You've progressed in your relationship. I'm like, what SMS did you read?
Ga.
So she knew. But I think what was really cool is like she knew everything. Like even my sisters, anyone we dated was allowed into the house, come for dinner, like not stay the night, but stay after dinner. Like you can like chill and relax. She was like, I'd rather you like you're here where I can see
My
rather
mom was
than
the
you're
same
standing
way.
at the gate or just talking and I don't know what's happening there. Bring the person home. Maybe she'll see something in him that I haven't seen. But there wasn't a stifling relationship advice of like, oh my God, he's from this culture or he does this. You can never ever date. There was nothing like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
What about you?
My mom was kind of the same thing of she wants everybody in the house.
Yeah.
Because it's not even a control thing. It's just, I know that you're safe here. So even go out, party, even at 20, like all my friends used to come after having a very good time. At 5 o'clock in the morning, all of us, after eating eggs, the boiled eggs with the smokies, you come black out at my mom's house because at least she was like, nobody's dead. I love it. But outside of that, I feel like most relationship conversations that my mom would have is if she's noticed that you dated somebody for a long period of time and it might lead to like maybe possible like a long-term relationship or marriage or anything. The biggest advice that she always just used to tell both me and my sister is just always protect yourself in the sense, because my mom, single mom, my dad was hella useless. I think even he still owes us child support money. He's never paid.
But your bill.
Like, I mean, after the divorce, he had to, and it was like $3K. He didn't pay.
$3K
But such
or? Sorry.
Kendi!
I'm asking. Good devil was states, but I
No,
$30.
no. That was when I was here.
Okay.
Before I moved when I was 5. So when, like, for example, with the man that I'm with right now, after we were together for a couple of years, she was just like, whatever you do, if you guys move in together, I could care less as long as everybody's happy. My biggest thing is always protect yourself. In like financially, don't be that stay-at-home wife dependent on him. Man, where if anything happens, if he decides to cut you off or break up with you, your life is over.
Starting from scratch.
You're not starting from scratch. Like even small things, like if you move in together and you guys agree to buy a couch, go fitty or you buy it yourself. In case you guys break up, you know you have a couch.
Yeah.
You know you have a stove. You know you have a microwave.
But even if you go 50-50 with a Chile, when you break up, just give her everything and go start afresh.
There's some people who are petty who will sit there and be like, let's split it in half. I'll give you the check for the other half. But it doesn't matter. But at least you're not starting. Like, just do something so that you have a say in the household.
Yeah. I think my mom's, related to that was just keep all your receipts. And so, like, because I know that really helped her in the divorce. Like,
it really
literally,
helps,
we had everything.
But, like, you have to protect yourself.
And so, yes, to date, I have to catch myself even, like, receipts for packing. 50 more. I'm like, okay, Adele, let go.
Like, it's okay. That one can go.
But I keep all my receipts, like
I don't necessarily keep receipts. I just make sure that, like, we never buy a specific thing 50-50.
Yeah.
So, like, you buy the bed, I buy the couch. Like, that whole 50, like, it makes it too complicated.
Yeah.
The 50-50. But, like, just have ownership of the house.
I'm also okay if you're willing to buy everything, by the way, because, like...
Imagine if you can. Imagine buy all
and keep your receipts.
Just pay with your pets and you'll be fine.
I'll ask my wife is here. Chiki, are you keeping receipts?
I'm not supposed to tell you.
Damn, I wish you heard what she said, but anyway. Hey, okay. Learning, guys, by the way, guys, this is a steep learning curve. I also want to use this chance to advertise that we are from the prestigious. I'm kidding. Yeah.
And I genuinely thought he was going somewhere.
Me too.
Really intelligent there.
So you realize that in society, traditionally, men make more than women, even when they do the same things.
Oh, yeah.
Is that something that you picked up growing up? Or is it something that you came to the realization when you're working life? And how, sorry, let me just check. Let me rephrase the sentence again. And how does that affect how you negotiate your work and your salary?
Right now, my theme in negotiating is just walk in with the audacity of 10 white men.
I like
Hey.
that.
right?
I don't
And-
see. My audacity is too little.
You know, there's a food.
I know. Yeah,
And so it's like, I know, because I'm not an idiot. I know what I need to be able to do my job and do it well. I didn't pull a figure from, my nether regions. Their overheads, it's a business. There's a way you arrive at your rates,
Yes.
right? And so nowadays I'm less like meek and humble, because I think society, we kind of like condition women to be that way.
yeah.
Where if you get a job, you should be so thankful that you got this job, even if it's like a quarter. It's a job, imagine, So nowadays I'm like, hey, listen, we don't actually have to do business if my rates are too high, and we don't have to
can
be
refer you to
enemies.
somebody else.
It's fine. It's fine. But I also am very cognizant of the fact that I only arrived there because of having a community of very strong African women
Yeah.
who I call. If I get a gig, I call and I'm like, how do I approach this? So, and some of them are Kenyan. So like Njoki Ngumi, Shefa Okore.
Shout out.
Yeah, these are women who I call and they're like, that one. No, you don't speak for anything. Like, don't go for conferences and speak for free. Don't do this. Like, they actually, it helps to have that support.
Yeah.
And they tell you, a man is going to ask for this. And I have done jobs where I have even negotiated for the guy who's co-presenting with me,
Wow. Yeah.
because he then was like, oh, I don't know what they say. I'm like, hey, what do you mean you don't know? And
Yeah, man, because you might come here and give rates and you look, yeah.
right? I'm like, no. So nowadays I'm a lot less, meek and humble about it, because there's a science behind what I do, and there's
Wow.
a pride behind what I do and how I do it, and there's also like a tribe of African women who are, standing with
Fearless
me
and
as
yes.
well. Yeah, and I think that's really magical.
Ish, what about you, Joy?
For me, I like the confidence of 10 white men. I need to have more confidence of 10 white men. For me, okay, number one, with what I do, in the beginning especially, I used to notice how men used to do bare ass minimum and were being paid literally the exact same. Like bare ass minimum. Like they put up a flyer and they're just like, KPI met.
The hashtag.
Goddamn.
That somebody else made, like the company gave them the flyer, and I'm over there with cameras, lights, going above and beyond. So once I started kind of getting to that point, I think that the biggest issue with just being a woman who works for themselves and everything is always that mentality of, if you come in with gusto, you're too aggressive. She's a bitch. She thinks she's worth more, like that type of thing. And I've kind of just gone to that point of, yeah.
You don't give a shit anymore,
Like, I mean, yeah.
get what's yours.
No, but, and that's okay. Like,
And I'm okay with it, yeah.
Yeah.
and you know why? I think I even had a phone call yesterday where somebody was calling me for a gig, and it was like 1/10 of what my rates are. And so I told her my rates, and I told her, this is not, it's an informed decision. I told her, we are taxed twice now. Like, so there's an amount I can't go under because I'm going to run on a loss.
Yeah.
I don't love your product that much for me to
For me to,
run on
yeah.
a loss for
Yeah.
you. And so I think that helps when you know that there's a science behind it. But even
And when you can actually also verbalize what the science
Exactly.
is
And
behind
also
it. Because I
growing
feel
up.
like a lot of brands don't, like, I feel like they just think that we come up with numbers for fun.
Yeah.
But I think another thing I want to add, coming from the media industry, is that it's a boys' club, and there are very many industries that are boys' clubs.
clubs, man.
So deals are passed around a circle of men and
Yeah.
dudes, right? And then like you're thrown for a bone just because of like, oh, I'm doing you a favor. Not it. That's the energy they come with, instead of like, actually, the best person for us to give this job because we are trying to get there is this person, And I think that a lot needs to change in terms of like representation, in terms of having enough women who have actually studied whatever it is that they're studying to get into positions of management, to be able to say, this is not disrupt the boys' club.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I
for-
think there's a disruption in corporate Kenya, especially when
Yeah.
I'm seeing women on the driver's seat. I'm seeing girls I went to uni with. You guys are killing it. In every office that I get into to negotiate deals for myself, my artists, I just see women on the driver's seat. And it's something that really turns me on. Not in that way, but it just makes me
It's
happy.
excited, yeah.
It's exciting
Yeah.
to see
Yeah.
a change of, leadership.
Yeah.
And you can tell that right now there's even more money in the game because women are making the decisions.
Yeah. And that's what we've been yelling about for years. So it's like, give us a chance. It'll
and
be good
it will
for
actually be helpful.
everyone.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's true. It's
Like
true.
we know what we are actually genuinely doing.
Yeah.
And I feel like just the biggest thing is there's no such thing as being a bitch when it comes to business.
What about self-worth? Like, what do you guys have to say about self-worth? Because, like maybe your numbers, do your numbers define your self-worth, or is your self-worth is a state of being where you are really actualized?
That is such a beautiful question.
Yeah.
Like, it's...
Because when you said about the science,
Yeah.
yes, I get the science. Like, if Adele posts 5 times, this is the traction your brand will get.
Yeah.
However, there's that science, and then there's Adele, the person who is just who stands for this, who stands for that.
Yeah.
That now give her the the pizzazz to be Adele.
I think it's something that I have to spend a lot of time continuously doing. And it's small things and a collection of small things and big things, because you can actually make or break yourself by thinking that you as a human are synonymous with the numbers, right? And if you get your self-worth from the numbers, what happens when those platforms are down? You know what I mean? I know when I was leaving KISS, I had to do a lot of work in redefining who I am, because for 10 years I was this person on radio, right? And you can get used to every morning, if you have a terrible morning, there's millions of people who are like, hey, we're tuned in. It feels good. It's a human thing. It feels good. And you can get used to that. So when you remove that, it's like, oh, okay. So now I have to do that for myself. Like I have to cheer myself every morning. And I realize there's a huge difference between who you are and what you do. And in the communities that I've grown up in, I'm not going to say it's across all African communities, but if you look at even like family gatherings, they'll be like, hey, and my Sanya, who you need daktari, right? So it's what he does. Who you need, whatever,
Professor,
lecturer, whatever. It's what they do. And so that becomes who you are, because in every space, it's that. And I'm glad I had to do that work, because nowadays I don't feel the pressure, even with social media. I don't feel the pressure of like numbers equating
to
whether
your worth
performing badly or Adele, you're
just
terrible,
Adele. The only competition you have is Adele.
So and then the podcast runs as a business where it's literally like, so are you advertising or not? Like, this is kind of like what we need to do every month and things like that. But you have to do that. And especially to bring it back to a gender lens, is that as women, we're always someone else's, right? So before you're someone's daughter,
wife.
someone's husband, or your
But see,
boyfriend.
even me, I'm a son, I'm a brother.
No, but you're a son of
I'm a
somebody,
future
but
dad.
you have
But
your
then
own
now you're meant to tell us where to go.
Yeah.
You're the one who's giving this structure of what this
we're going
being
to do.
is. You
because
know
you're
what I
somebody's
mean?
son, but you're also the head of your household.
Am I?
She's your wife.
We go where you're going, and so
I'm
and
her husband.
Yeah, but
Okay.
I'm not saying like in real life. I'm saying like that's how society looks at it.
It's like now that women are trying to first own themselves and re-piece together in a very hostile environment, because it's not like the environment has woken up with us also. You know what I mean?
Environment hasn't met you with jubilation.
Yeah. No, exactly. And so even just figuring out who you are is revolutionary for women. Even just owning what you wear, you know,
It is, man.
is revolutionary
my
because
mother
of that.
has always been the woman in my neighborhood that people come to speak to when they're going through stuff, especially young people. Like our house always had the neighbors' kids coming in, like somebody's pregnant. Hey, let me go to Mama Bien and talk to Mama Bien, because she was always like, very young and hip. And in her experience of how she raised us, I don't think she was ever given an opportunity to explore that further or to live her full potential.
Of being that
Because of
aspect.
just
of
experience
her.
motherhood, African things where my dad is the head of the home and all of those things. There's a lot of lost potential in my mom.
Yeah, sometimes it's weird, because I've had that conversation with my sisters, and I'm like, I wonder if my mom held back, what are the things she held back from, because it wasn't allowed
Man.
for women to do certain things, or even just divorcing my dad was like revolutionary.
Divorce
you
now
know?
is a big deal. Imagine those days,
Imagine
man.
back then,
No, like
1999.
even a perfect example, the way you're saying, like a lot of our moms were not allowed to do, like, to fulfill their fullest potential or whatever. My mom, immediately when she finished school, everything, her first reflex, because at the time, was be a nurse. She was given her chance to reach her full potential because her father came and got her, like, this is not how you're going to end.
Yeah.
Like, she still had to be taken out by another man to allow her to now fulfill her fullest potential. And then after she got divorced and everything, I think my mom became her fullest self when she got a divorce. And she realized, number one, now she had to be two parents for two kids. She had to work, and she became such a powerful being after. Because before, I remember even like when they were married, my dad used to come home drunk, and my mom was still very, like, she still was very strong, but not at the level that she was after divorce.
Yeah.
Like, after divorce, she kind of just told herself, like, we have no choice.
So the single moms then experience a fuller life in the experience in womanhood.
And they reach it earlier because they have no choice.
Yeah.
Because it's either, because before you were somebody's wife, now that you're no longer, now you can now explore all your avenues of what you've always wanted to do.
And you can kind of like live for your, obviously this is not a blanket statement for all single moms, but at least watching my mother is just, you can now be focused on you in an environment that is healthier, that is full of love. And even though it's hectic because now it's one income and you have kids and all of these things, but you can be in a healthier environment and you can focus on you and the things that you want to achieve. Whereas, you know, before my dad was the same, like 9 p.m. you're wondering, so is he coming home tonight? Then he comes.
And then still
now
he
you have
comes,
to
and then he still has to eat.
He has to eat, he's angry. Is he going to be, you know, violent
Shouting.
tonight?
So
Navigating
now I have another
that.
question. Like growing up and then having all these experiences where your mother is telling you, like, be careful of men when you go out there. Then you see your dad maybe not being the fullest version of himself. Hey, doesn't that scar your relationship with men in general? Doesn't that make you go out there with like some presumptions of how men are?
No.
And do you hurt other men in the process?
No, for me, I feel like it's, like, I've never been a person who assumes all men are this.
Okay.
Not all men rape. Not all men are abusive. Not all men are alcoholics. I feel like me seeing the way my dad was opened me up to the idea of don't believe in fairy tale. Like, it made me know what I genuinely do not ever want in life. And I found myself attracted to people who are exact opposites in a healthy way. But now the opposite of that is that some people still have an unhealthy attachment to the father that they had, where if the father was not a good representation of what men are, they basically just keep repeating the cycle of my dad was abusive and alcoholic and I keep dating abusive alcoholics. I think it's a person to person type, but for me, it made me know what I 100% never want in life.
I think for me, it's in two parts where, in terms of like my dad, what I do know because of years of therapy, which I hope everyone gets access to therapy because it does wonders, is I have a very weird relationship with anger. And so if I get angry, I don't know how to communicate. I start crying because I'm just like, oh my goodness.
You're like
what
literally
are we meant to
boiling
do with
over.
this emotion, you know? Because the extreme where I saw anger being communicated by him, in my head that registered as anger is synonymous with violence, which it's not. It's a normal emotion like any other emotion. And it's how you communicate it. And you can communicate anger in a healthy way. And it's normal for...
What's the healthy way of communicating anger?
So what I do, which is strenuous,
I'm curious.
is like I back away completely and I literally write bullet points. So I come back after like an hour with my bullet points. I'm like, when you did this, this is what I felt, imagine, you know what I mean? So I guess because I love words, so it's easier for me to see it. And then I'm like, okay, it's not the end of the world that you're feeling angry.
That's a woman thing because, you know, the first time when I started dating Cheeky, in none of my previous relationships had I had healthy arguments or like arguments that make the relationship better.
Yeah.
It was just, Bien, you fucked up. Yeah, fucked up. Then me, I'm like, my ego is also playing something there. But
and you just say sorry just to squash the beef.
Yeah.
I still say sorry to squash the beef. By the way. Until I die. To the grave.
We will not do any.
Cheeky, in our first argument, came back with notes.
Good.
I came back with bad vibes. So she came back with a paper. She's like, when you said this, and I was like, wow, she's making a lot of sense. This is so logical. I wish I put my shit down. Because she had let me speak before.
Yeah.
I was
And
like, woman boo!
But it's
You know.
important. I think it's important.
Yeah.
For me, that's what I found out through therapy. But the second thing is that having had a violent experience with men later on in my life, I think sometimes there's a misunderstanding of the, I just thought of this because when you said not all men rape, of the not all men conversation. And for me, Bian, if I didn't know you, right? And let's say you were an accountant, right? But I know that I know that when I go out, whatever time of day, whatever, there is a risk of me getting harassed or abused or whatever. And I get into a lift with you. I don't know that you're an accountant who, respects women or whatever. To me, in that moment, you're a
You're a
man
threat.
and you're a potentially could be my
Potential
abuser.
threat, yeah.
And so what we're saying is, if you help us end this, we will be able to see men
outside of
however you want us to see you, outside of this profile of potential abusers. You know what I mean? And I don't think that's necessarily I don't think somebody has to grow up in a violent home to have that feeling. I think they just need to watch the news. They just need to
It's not
interact with
even
other
have
women.
to, watch, if
Yeah.
you just as a woman, if you ever leave your house, you will experience something.
And so that's why then you are very apprehensive when dealing with any type of man, even strangers, more so strangers,
Yeah.
Damn. All right.
When you were talking about how to deal with anger, the writing notes thing, I started doing that 2 years ago. Oh my God, it's so good. But because my issue is I'm not good at, and I noticed it's a really bad habit of mine where you make me angry as my significant other. I kind of just, I don't want to start a fight. So, you'll start your brief and so do you have anything? And I hate that conversation. And usually my issue
I don't know why Chiki is nodding.
I generally I hate that thing. But I've learned because I can't do that. So you did this and this. I have to send you an email.
Email.
When you're at work.
I don't even check.
Yeah.
Oh,
You
damn.
read it, you absorb.
When you're at
We
work.
meet in the evening.
Imagine before we had this conversation, if I had seen your email outside, and I'm just reading it before I have to
You
do.
compartmentalize.
No,
Okay,
no.
at
I
6
also
p.m.
usually I even put a subject. You decide when it's best time for you to read it.
Okay,
It's just
yeah.
more of just something I feel from the conversation that we had earlier that I feel you should know. Now, obviously, if you know it's gonna mess up your meeting, you clearly know that we had beef in the morning. Don't read it now. But
And
during
then just
lunch.
say, I need a week to sit on it. Let's meet in a week and
But
talk about it.
but that's how my brain works. But I can't do that. So when you said,
Okay.
but also the thing about
Have
my
a
brain
notebook.
is I'm the worst person to ever have an argument with because I am a record player.
Oh.
If you say anything, I file it so well in my brain all the way down to the minute that you said it, and I will say it verbatim. And then you walked into the house, and then you said, "How dare you?" That's how you started. How dare you?
Joy Love doesn't keep a record of wrongs.
I don't know how any other way. To me, that's the only way. And also because the way one of my biggest things is don't ever say something that you don't mean.
It's true.
I think that's also why I have that thing of
The
I never
writing, it
speak when
helps
I'm
it.
angry.
Yeah.
It helps.
Never
Writing
say
helps you.
anything that you do. Because if you get angry and you're you fucking fat bitch. You said it. You can be, but babe, I'm so angry. You said it.
But if you write it down, you can cross it off
And be
this is nonsense.
That is just mean, just to
Yeah.
be mean. Let's
Yeah.
just end with, I really did not like the fact that you said that.
Yeah.
I have a new modus operandi in my relationship where we just squash the beef immediately.
Oh, I can't
There's
do
no
that.
such thing.
I don't
So if
know.
I piss you off,
No such thing.
we're like, hey, I'm sorry, you've done this to me, I'm pissed. Okay, we squash the beef and we move on.
Wait, when you move on, are
It
you
makes
actually
the healing
genuinely
time
moved
shorter.
on? Have you genuinely moved on where he can kiss
of
you
course
after and you're
haven't genuinely
Gucci?
moved on.
Then
But
that's not moving on.
no. But you see, it makes the healing shorter because moving on is healing. Once you heal from that whole thing, then you moved
I
on.
may have to process
can't.
as an individual.
I need to
first
microwave my-
before I
my
bring
feelings.
you in now to be like, okay, now let's talk.
Isn't
Then
that some
afterwards-
emotional kind of that's emotional abuse?
No,
It's
I'm
not.
kidding, guys. Wait.
I was about to be
Yeah, Eddie.
what's emotional abuse is to just...
String someone along, I've been called, Checky. Have you seen that meme for when you're sitting with your boys and then your chick writes you a message, babe, we need to talk.
Yeah.
That's emotional abuse because
It's
now
not. She's
I spend the rest of
communicating.
my day wondering what does she want to talk
Okay, no, I actually do agree. That is like I feel like it's not polite to start with and then not finish it. It's almost like, babe, I need to tell you something.
But
What?
chances
What?
are,
What?
you know what
No.
we need to talk about.
Not particularly, no. I don't know. I don't know. Like, we need to talk
Especially with
about
men, I've
something.
actually learned like sometimes they will actually genuinely do something, not realize that they did something, and then you say
Yeah.
we need to talk genuinely.
It's
They
one of
have-
those
I think
things.
I think what's important is for everyone to know what their processes are with the emotions, and then communicate that. Like,
Your
hey,
process,
me,
so they
my process
understand,
is like
yeah.
this. Okay, yours is like this. So how can we?
meet
I
in the
think
middle.
Eric said something very profound here earlier. He said, with women, if you say something without respect, so without love, they can't take it. So you can say all you want to say, but if you say it without love,
Yeah.
you don't mean it. Like
No, but that's true though.
And for men, it's respect. Like if a man feels disrespected, even if you're saying the sweetest shit, like it's nothing.
But I feel like that's the same thing though. When you speak to somebody, when you speak to your significant other with love, is actually speaking to them with respect.
I think that's a
Whoa.
human
It's the
thing.
same thing.
It is,
Yeah. Maybe
Like,
not
just,
gender,
like,
just
don't-
human.
Respect is
Yeah.
one of the things that love is.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Hey, this conversation went left.
No, just learning. Wow. Okay, so we've seen a significant rise in rape and GBV during the during COVID times, and during tough economic times generally in the world. There's always a spike in gender-based violence. So, as men, what should we do better to ensure that you guys are protected? Like, what do you guys want from us?
I feel like a lot of this usually, like the reason why it usually happens during bad economic times is a lot of men have never learned how to deal with their emotions. So when, for example, economic times happen, like you go from like making a decent salary, even like just any salary, to like nothing. Now you're stressed about the household, feeding the children, da 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 da. So men are not taught how to deal with those feelings. So it always comes out in your wife asks you one small question like, oh, did you pay the rent? And then it turns into an
You're constantly
physical
asking me
type of thing
yeah.
versus being able to first deal with your actual emotions. I feel number one, men need to be taught how to deal with their emotions. Like biggest thing that I hate when I see, and I still see to this day, which still shocks me, that thing of seeing a little boy cry and then an adult has the audacity to be like, oh, don't cry. Big boy. And it starts at like the age of 3. And then now a grown man at the age of like 32 gets fired. And he, instead of him just being able to cry like the way we would in our house, being like, I can't believe I've been fired, let me, and then collect myself after, it comes out in a violent way, whether it's in rape, whether it's in actual physical violence to the significant other or other women, whatever the case.
I think it's
how-
like
yeah.
I think it's like a mix of many things. The first one, I think that's paramount, is that crimes have to be treated as crimes. And if you are a perpetrator of violence, you should do your time. Because then that teaches people, oh, okay,
Accountability.
I won't do this crime because then I'm going inside, right? And because we don't do that as a country for very many more problems that we have, then people get away with violence and it's normalized. That's where it is, because I'm very scared of making any excuses, because I also got, we get affected as a woman in business by the pandemic, by whatever changes happen in an industry. But I don't go out beating up every man who asks me about this, or my partner, because I know it is wrong, it is a crime, and I acknowledge that, right? So I think the first thing is that it is not normal, it's a crime. There has to be consequences for that. I think the second thing is that we have to also understand that the cases of domestic violence tripled 3 weeks into us being in lockdown. And that's only the reported cases. We know there are so many that,
Nobody actually.
you know,
reports, yeah.
in fact,
the
many
majority
more.
are not cases are not
yeah.
reported. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It was so bad. I think Maraga even did like a press conference to be like, whoa, what is happening, right? Like, why are we seeing this spike? And it's so simple. We have been asking for more shelters for women, not only women with children, around our country, but because we don't have those. You locked me in with my abuser.
Yeah.
What do you think was going to happen, right? And we can't even move you elsewhere, because where are we moving you to? It was last year that we found out that Nairobi did not have even one fully government-funded shelter for women. All the ones that exist are funded by people in the NGO or private sector. It was only Makueni County that had one fully government-funded shelter for women. Yes.
Shout out Kivuta Kibwana, you're such a sweetheart, man.
And this was it was open during his term as governor, and so these are real issues where even if when we go into a lockdown, you're locking me in with my abuser. If I come in and I want to intervene, where am I taking you to? And a shelter means it's safe for you. You have food. You have access to like upskilling yourself while you're there. We don't have that. And then I think the other thing we also have to think about when we bring it down to even just what you touched on, Joy. I know I've had conversations with men from different communities in Kenya about what goes on when you go for your circumcision rite of passage, right? And I think there has to be a cultural audit because in some communities, you're taken away, right? And during those times, and we had this conversation on one of my radio shows. There's a guy who called in and said, you're forced to eat until you throw up because a man has to eat huge servings. You're beaten. Some older boys who have gone through the passage before you, whenever they spot you, they just need to like throw up, blow you away because you need to be able to take these jabs. You know what I mean? You're told you can never cry. At that point, there's some who were told that even your mother cannot tell you anything. You're now above her. You're telling this to a 11, 12, 13-year-old, right? And you can't cry. You can't be seen in the kitchen. All of this conditioning starts there, right? How are we shocked that 10, 20 years down the line, we then have a breed of monsters? Like, how are we shocked? That's what we were intentionally trying to do.
You made them,
right? Yeah. And so it's to go back, and there's so much secrecy around those rites of passage. Even them calling in, there were some calling in and saying, no, these men are not meant to share what's happening, right? But how do we have an audit to say, hey, guys, this is where the problem probably started.
Yeah, we need a culture.
Maybe even going back to that is why we're seeing so many cases of suicide with men, right? You don't know how to communicate your emotions.
You know, yesterday Makbul said
and when you do, it's
here.
not in a healthy way. Like there's no healthy way to communicate.
Makbul said he talks to his children about like when he has an argument with his wife or something, he'll talk to his kids and tell them, by the way, this argument has nothing to do with you guys.
Yeah.
And me and mom still love each other.
Yeah.
So that way of conflict resolution where you see mom and dad have had a fight and then dad has spoken to me and then later you see them laughing. You're like, oh, so they've resolved.
So that's,
you know, like when I was growing up, I didn't have a situation in my household when there was conflict resolution and anything was explained to me. I was told to go upstairs.
Yeah.
You know,
the adults are talking.
Get out of here. The adults are talking. So you get married, and you also don't have the tools to deal with your own kinds of conflicts because they're going to be there.
Yeah. I think definitely when we're talking about sexual violence, it's like a myriad of things. Community and how we're socialized does play a huge role. But I think where we're at right now, the first step is just you do a crime. You go in, you know what I mean? Yeah. So how do we make proper evidence collection systems and preservation? Like how do we make it such that we drum it down that, hey, guys, this is a crime.
Especially in rape, man, there's so much evidence that gets lost.
It's not even about...
going on for 10 years, you're told the samples or lab.
We don't even have ways to preserve evidence. We actually don't as a country. So, and the proof of...
So what are our forensics?
It's more of an office just to show something is happening. Right. But also outside of that, but I feel like a huge issue is also the aspect of educating people what is sexual violence, what is abuse. Because I feel like a lot of people actually don't understand. Like when people argue that a husband can never rape a wife.
Yeah. I think
because you're the wife, like you should have just done it.
For me, honestly, where I've gotten to, I think those are excuses that I've seen.
No, they're 100% excuses. But like, I feel like a lot of people, like just culturally, nobody's actually educated to understand. Like also, like what is physical abuse from a husband? A slap, is that considered physical abuse?
Because
some people will say yes, but then some people will be like, no.
Because how comes you can understand
he didn't punch me?
You can understand consent matters when it's you outside of an intimate relationship. So if I take your car Like I literally just come, take your car keys, take your car and drive off. You'll understand something wrong has happened here and somebody hasn't asked me for something. Like you complete. And then when I tell you, okay, now in a relationship,
if you put in the same rules,
all of a sudden you're like, no. And why I say it's an excuse, I think it's because when you talk about issues around consent, it touches so close to home. It forces men to introspect and ask, when did I ever was there a point I crossed or I was like balancing on there? Was there ever a time I was in a club and I was hitting on this chick and she kept saying no, but I'm like still pushing? So what does that say about me? It really forces you to confront that. And why it's okay for men to confront that, I'm like, imagine confront, because how else will you unlearn? Is that your cost if it comes to you realizing, okay, I may have crossed the line, or a friend of mine crossed the line, or someone I know crossed the line, your cost is social. Your cost is your friends will be like, bien, you're dampening the mood. Your cost is social. Yeah. My cost is life or death.
It's emotional.
Right? So, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, I think you should actually introspect and not be scared of like calling yourself out on your own BS. Yourself. And so even those matters around consent, I find it, I'm like, it's the easiest thing to, I had a friend who also went to USIU.
Hey, USIU, shout out.
Abigail Arunga.
Yes,
She's awesome.
Shout out to Abby, but Abby is all kinds of awesome.
She's so awesome. And she said, you know what? And it's a bit graphic, I apologize, but she said it's like when a guy is getting a blowjob and it's painful, you will say, hey, hey, this is, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So how comes you can't, like, how can you not understand? Like, the reverse of like somebody saying, hey, I've changed my mind, I don't want this. You know what I mean? Like, and I remember her saying that and I was just like, actually, how, these are excuses that we come up with of like, I don't understand what consent is. You do understand. You just don't want the discomfort that comes with calling yourself out. Yeah, exactly. And that's very unfair because it costs me my life. And it just costs you a social status.
Wanaume mmesikia. Tujiite mkutano. Call yourself for a meeting and talk to yourself. So why do you think women are sexualized more than men? Hey, this is the last question because I'm guilty.
Yeah.
Why are we sexualized more than men?
In one way or the other, you know. But why do you think women are sexualized more than men? And does this stem from our upbringing?
First of all, it's a cultural thing. Perfect example, when we spoke about us being colonized and then all of a sudden everything that we do is wrong and da-da-da-da-da. Breasts were not a sexual thing until we...
They were literally
until we were told that it was too sexual, please cover up, you're not supposed to be walking around naked, right? I feel like it can just first stem with colonizations. And it just dragged and just got worse over time. Number two, I don't think that necessarily men are not sexualized. It's just as women, we know how to behave.
Oh, right. Yes, very true.
Like, we're not very much into the, hey, what? Hey, cha. Hey, do you see? Hey, what? Like, that's not, like, we're very...
Me, I've been sexualized in my life, guys. Though I exposed myself. Okay, no, I can't say I exposed myself to be sexualized. That's still a you choice. Not a me choice.
No, 100%.
I'm an artist. I've had videos where people have said that I have sexualized women in the videos. But my struggle comes when, it's not cool to sexualize women in any way. And I'm not standing for it in any way. But I have a question. Like, I get, there's a whole industry on models and women who want to use their beauty in the art of music videos. And then there's a whole other side that says, no, man, you guys are really painting a bad picture of our daughters.
But I feel like that's on them, though. It's the same way that you had mentioned that it's you, not
what's
me.
That balance?
I think before even I get to the balance, this is probably one of the very few things that I wouldn't solely blame on like colonization. I'm like, this one we can, it's both of us, you know what I mean? Because I think the system that we grew up in was designed in many communities, not all. There were some communities that were matriarchal and had a huge respect for women. But there are very many where the conditioning from a very young age was that your body is not your own. And so how you dress it, how you show it off, where you show it off was for men's pleasure. And there was never a conversation about what do you love your own body? You know what I mean? And you'll see it in like preparations for marriage. It's always so strange to me that the male groom will be on one side before the wedding day or however weeks before the wedding day with his uncles, just getting drunk, having a
Party
good
time.
little time. And the bride, the female bride, is being prepared and taught how to please her
How to
man.
be the good wife.
It's even in language. So in Luo, getting married is ibitedo, which means you're going to cook, right? It's in small things like that that show you that we're not seen as complete beings, and we're not seen as complete beings who own ourselves. You're always being groomed and being prepared for not just someone, for the man. You know what I mean? That's dowry negotiations. You come and thank my parents for grooming this amazing woman. If indeed it was all about gratitude and thanks, why am I not thanking your parents as well? Right? So I'm being groomed. So my body is not mine, right? And it then stems into other industries as well. It stems into, if you look at music video sets, there's so many that have come under fire, right? Because yes, there's an opportunity for a woman to build a career in modeling, etc. But then there's also power dynamics, all right? So what happens in those video shoots? Who has the power and how does that destabilize things, right? Does she feel coerced? Does she feel safe for her to do this job if we're assuming that she willingly and truthfully chose to do this particular job? There's so many things that you have to question because you know the foundation is that a woman's body is never hers. And that's why somebody will grab you in town because I'm sorry, this is not your body.
And you should not
It's
have
for
been walking here.
And you should feel good because in fact, they get so shocked when you say stop with the street harassment. Like, you should feel good because it's meant to bring pleasure to a woman that a man has found
You attractive.
beauty in her body, you know, even if he's communicating that via harassment, via assault. And so I think we really need to go back and just think of even just the language we use. You know, I was like, Avitedo, I don't even like cooking. What are you talking about? You know? And this is a grown-up, like with his own stomach. Why can't he also figure himself out? And it's just that your body is... In fact, after I got married, and it's so strange, I've met older women. There's one older woman from a place where I buy food from because... Again, I don't like cooking. And she would look at my nails and we talk about like fashion stuff and she just, whatever outfit I wear, and she's just like, it's so great. And then weeks into our conversations, I think I mentioned, oh yeah, my husband is, she said, you're married. I was like, yeah. She's like, but you're dressing like this. I said, okay, what's wrong? She's like, but see, you've already gotten the man.
You shouldn't
Stop
have
being
to.
sexy, man.
Right? And she's in her 70s.
All right.
Her idea is that we dress up
To get him.
because your body is not yours. So once you have found the man, please, my friend, now you can wear a dira because the job is done. And so the sexualization of women's bodies and objectifying us starts from a very, very young age.
Even in Sheng, like, I'm just thinking about it now. Me and my niggas talking like, hey, check your kitu. First of all, your kitu.
Ooh.
Check.
Yes.
Your kitu yani dem chuma, lakini check your kitu. Naweza ichapa. First of all, yani naweza ichapa. I can beat it up.
I'm so glad you brought
I'm
up
not going
language.
to use those words again.
Because even when we talk... No, it's so
It
true.
just hit you now.
It's so true.
Yeah,
It's
your
good.
kitu.
Some men say, umeweka shwabet, once you've gone and bought a chick a drink, which then is saying that I've bought you a drink and I need something in return because nimeweka shwabet.
Yeah.
There's language that we use that normalizes these
Utachapa ni
things.
sure bet. Aina ni sure bet.
What does that say? And then we laugh about it, you know? But when you think about it, it's like, guys, that's actually not okay.
Madema mwekele sure bet kwetu. Cheeky, you didn't feel like I was a show bit when you were like...
We don't talk like that.
Oh.
Yeah.
I've
never said
and maybe
that.
it's because we don't have the privilege of living in a very safe world. So we know
You also don't want to start something that you also can't like.
Oh.
we know what it's cost
Yeah.
us, and it's like, yeah, we're not gonna go there. And that's what I mean when I say introspect. The language you're using with your guy friends, the jokes and the memes that they're sharing with you,
Actually-
and you're laughing, that contributes to rape. No, I'm not saying actually you're laughing now, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It contributes
No, but
to
it does.
rape
But
culture.
also, I've just thought of this, and I've also noticed like a lot of people do this with like the younger kids, and I feel like it's something that we now need to stop. The aspect where you say like we're always grooming our girls for boys, and a perfect example is like when you think about like people's like nieces and nephews, like they're 5 or whatever, when they see another boy who's their age, they're just like, hey, look, they're gonna be so cute together. Hey, they should date. Like 2 best friends have 2 kids, like one is a boy, one is a girl. Hey, they'll be so cute when they get older. Like let's make her so pretty so that da da da. And even the small aspect of, I understand that like when you have a daughter and everything, always tell her that she's beautiful so she understands that. But I've also noticed that there is a level where you can do it to the point where she believes that that is the only thing that she has to offer on this planet.
It's her only currency.
Her only currency is her beauty. And then you get confused when they get into certain parts of life where that's the only thing that they know how to...
So,
I don't know if that makes
So
sense.
that-
It's basically
transact with.
whether it's using that to get a promotion, or whether it's using that to be in a music video and then you turn it into a model, like whatever the case. But like that aspect of, yes, always make your girls understand that they're very beautiful, but
but they're much more than that.
they're beyond that. Like, what if your beauty goes? Like, what else do you have? And I used to joke about this with my friends, and I'm realizing like it's something that it's not good that we joke about this, that like me and my friends, like, you know, a lot of us had like an awkward stage when we were younger. Like we weren't the attractive girl in school and blah, blah, blah. And we're like, yeah, that built us our character. Like that gave us our humor. That's why it was so funny. That's why. And then we will sometimes joke where you'll meet somebody who you could always tell, like, you were the pretty girl in high school, weren't you? Because they never actually had to build a person. Because that was like the way when we were talking about like what's your
There was no character development.
There was no character development
Yeah.
because that's all they ever had to contribute in life. They just had to be pretty, and everything else will be fine.
And even that could,
Eesh.
honestly, it could be a way to survive.
No,
Because
that's
if
100%,
the system
It's built for
rewards
that. Yeah.
then you feel like you have to
You don't
play
need
that
to, yeah.
to get ahead.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's just, I think at the we just kind of have to be a bit more intentional and introspect and be open to call ourselves out when...
And call other people out.
Yeah, especially people in that... Because, for example, if we take, like, men are trash, right? And that was really conceptualized around, like, sexual violence. And it was basically what then birthed this people saying not all men and things like that. But I always say, like... all of those men belong to pockets of social cliques or whatever, be it families, be it you and your boys and whatever. So the harmful things that he will come online and say to me, who he doesn't know personally, someone in his social circles has seen that
In real
and
life.
has let it just be. You know what I mean?
There's no accountability between boys. Like, I'm
And
not
I've noticed
likely
it,
to report.
especially in boys.
Yeah.
Men never, it's always, but that's just my boy. He's just like that. Which it's one of like the most irritating argument. Like when you see guys who, one guy is always very, just a chauvinistic, just,
Yeah.
and then they allow him. And then when you pull like a guy to the side being like, why is he, you know, he's just, you don't know him. Me, I know this guy from like childhood. You know, he's just funny like that. Where you're just like,
Guilty.
Yeah.
Hey, guilty.
I think
man.
there are very many men who are guilty of that, and it's
Yeah.
like, guys, it starts with as we're fighting for whatever changes we want in like our justice system and all of that.
starts in
Everyone
your
is
homes.
involved in this
Yeah.
fight
Yeah.
and has a role to play, and you just have to be courageous enough to say, I'm going to stand for the right thing, even when it's going to cost you socially. Yeah.
What do you think is the future of our sons in this country?
Can I just say what's really is...
And even daughters, like with the current trend of women being in positions of leadership, like what future do you see the Adele of 2050 living and the BN of 2050 living? Will they still be on a panel discussing with Joy Kendi of 20. That time the influencer will be an old profession. It'll be as old as prostitution.
Guy.
But I'm just like, what future do you foresee for our children
I think we need to.
if you want to have kids?
I think we need to wake up from this whole, because I see something that is so strange to me in the digital age where there's so much information, like literally you just click and it's there. When a lot of people say women are now taking over, boy child has been left behind.
That's what I'm addressing.
Yeah.
Those conversations, and I think it's very privileged to be able to say that. I think it's very elitist to be able to say that, because we're still living in a country, even in a county, where girls have to trade sex for sanitary pads. And you want to tell me that,
That
you
the boy
guys are done
child
with
is
your
now-
work.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you've done with your work now. You left the boy child behind and all of these things. I think it's a very elitist and such a wrong
And I think it's
And
perfect the way
it's-
you said it. It is genuinely coming from a place of privilege. It's kind of still the same, like even if we think about like the US with Black Lives Matter and blah, blah, blah. When somebody says Black Lives Matter and there's always that one person, no, all lives matter. That's coming from a place of privilege because you've
Yeah.
never had to experience that. So you don't actually
Exactly.
like you're not coming from a place of understanding. You're just like, no, but...
And my
experience
thing,
is this.
Yeah.
it's
And
my
so,
opinion.
like, but you're not listening.
My thing is, the future doesn't look so bright if we keep reducing it to that, and if we keep not refusing to face facts. Because even with men, my experience online is that if I speak up against femicide, there'll be a man who'll bring up a case of a man who was sexually harassed or abused
Exactly.
by
And you're like,
his
but nobody
wife.
said that it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Not only that, I think first that's so disrespectful to that victim or that survivor, male, to only think his experience is only valid as a weapon. You know what I mean? That's very disrespectful, first and foremost. Secondly, men also laugh at other men who have, sexual assault happens to them, or they parts of their body
GBV,
have been
yeah.
cut off and things like that. You will laugh, or a prominent politician talks about having been beaten up by his wife. You will laugh and say this guy's not a man or whatever.
Enough, yeah.
So I then wonder, how can you then come around and say the boy child has been left behind? You have been really leaving him behind consistently, right? Because I can speak to my experience of a woman feeling caged and just surviving every day because of the fear of being hurt by men. I don't hear men speaking of what's going wrong and what's the solution and you know what I mean?
I don't hear
What
men
I do
speaking,
hear
period.
is that comes up when I'm talking about what
Your-
needs to
yeah.
stop happening to women, And so I always find it to be a very obtuse and shallow conversation when people say boy child is being left behind. I'm like, okay, fine, quantify it. And when you challenge somebody, they actually don't know. They don't bring anything to the table, right? When I'm like, quantify it. Tell me,
Yeah.
is it education? Is it job opportunities? Is it unemployment? Is it, okay, what do you think the problem is? How do we, because I can tell you what my ideas are around certain things that affect women.
Do you ever think there's going to be a moment where we are going to have a balance?
No.
Have you ever
Sorry,
gone
I
to
know, like,
equilibrium?
I don't
in
know
all
if we're-
honesty, I've never, like, I feel like just it's human. There's never ever going to be a balance in any direction ever.
Yeah.
Even like best case scenario, one gender is still going to be more privileged than the other. Whether it's
I
going to be
don't
the
even
female,
think-
like I just don't see it.
I don't think even the quest is for a balance. I've never
I think the quest is for balance because, it's equal opportunity for everybody.
a balance in that sense, but
Yeah.
not in like equality and things like that. I think I want to be safe. I want to be treated with dignity. I want to be seen as a human. And so it's not like I want to be a man. No.
That's also
I
another thing
want
that people
you
tend
know
to
what I mean?
forget. Like this whole feminism and like it's not we trying to cancel men out and then
No, actually, real feminism is about equality and equity.
it's literally just equality.
Yeah. So equity. So that means that you understand that because of the system that we're in, I am discounted when it comes to job opportunities, the pay gap and certain
Maternity
things. So I
leave.
need
Yeah.
certain things, right? But I just I just find that it's sometimes why I feel like the future is bleak. Maybe it's today that I think it's bleak. Tomorrow you could ask me the question and I could be like, it's
After a
really
little
great,
meditation,
guys.
It could
after a
change,
little
yeah.
therapy,
You know?
tomorrow
Yeah.
morning you're like, optimism.
But I feel it's bleak. Like even now, sorry to rant, but even now we're at a point in our country where we're going into elections, right? There are different people announcing that they're going to be running. What has become the PR words, youth and women, but nobody ever backs it up with like, actually, this is what I'm going to change. You know what I mean? It's just, we'll have a women's convention or in a press conference, we'll just say, wa mama na, blah, blah, blah. Like, it's like...
Akina mama, and you get such an accessory. You're like a key, whatever, key holder.
And we're always with youth and children.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
with
It's actually
that
not become
side,
the equivalent
you
to like,
know?
when the president grabs a little baby and kisses them on the forehead.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, and I just, for me, then that really is like, because these are the people who are going to be leading us and steering us to that future you're asking about. And if they don't have a deep understanding of what women in this country are going through, or even a thirst to want to change that to the point where it even features in their manifesto, it even features in their 8 fake promises. You know what I mean? It doesn't even feature there, you know?
I'll be honest even and say that I have been very vocal about presidents having an opinion or even something in their manifesto about art and music. But I haven't been as passionate about female issues.
Yes.
Yeah, and so I need to lend my voice to that too.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
ask. I think anybody who runs, me and my Langata Vuta, so we're very loud, and I love that about us. But it's because I'm like, hey, I'm not safe in this place that you want to govern. So what you gonna do about that? You know, it's literally those everyday things, and because we don't feature there, then I wonder if the future you're asking about is in 4 or 5 years.
It's not in
I
4
don't
5
know.
years. I think it'll come with a cleanse of, we all have to like be off this planet for it to be better. I think our children will be better thinkers than we are.
We hope.
Human race always progresses, guys. For us to reach where we've reached, there are so many things that have changed for the better.
I feel the hope.
To
I feel the
experience the
hope.
light
I don't
bulb.
know. Bringing in.
Yeah, and I'll be honest, like women
not
have
that optimistic
women
when
in
it
this
comes to
country have
humans.
never been this emancipated. I feel not as strong as it should be,
Yeah.
because Chiki is just there like, yeah.
Like we still got some
But
ways to go.
wait.
History from the point
Yeah,
of
I'm saying for the point of colonization. Yeah.
That's not true.
Traditionally, as Africans, it was a patriarchy, but Kikuyu was a matriarchy. And there's certain African communities where women were the leaders.
But you see, even in those stories, they have been erased.
Oh,
Right?
Yeah.
Who do we learn about in our schools?
That's beautiful. We are writing history now for ourselves.
Yeah, they have been erased. Any woman who is even participating at the forefront for even our own as Kenyan freedom, as a freedom fighter, do we learn about them?
We don't.
No.
We know about the men. We don't know about the women and what they contributed, right? We don't know about how they structured actual wars against the British, right? We don't know about that.
Yeah.
We have to go and start digging in crates to find, this chick, what? She did what? And it's very frustrating. But the reason we don't give up is not only are we hopeful some days, but it's because we don't have a choice.
That's so true. That's actually
We
the
actually
biggest
don't-
thing. We have no choice. Like we genuinely just don't have a choice. It's
Oh
either
my
we go
God.
back in time. Like that's
I honestly feel like the future of my daughter is in safe hands because of your existence.
we hope.
I'm not trusting you. to
No
live a
pressure,
righteous
wow.
life for my daughter to look back to, but if my daughter becomes anything close to what Adele is, then she's succeeded. Like, Joy Kendi, if my daughter has your work ethic and just empower, how as a man I embody Beyonce's being, I embody your being, and that's how I become better. If there's anything to be optimistic about, I think I want to be a girl dad. And I say that because I feel like Kenya is going to be a much better place for a woman than even a man in the years to come. I'm optimistic, but also I'm optimistic sitting from a side of the fence where I should be quiet at this time. Because of time, we have to finish. But to my brothers who are watching this, I'm saying this to my brothers especially because, it's time to unlearn and it's time to listen more and speak less on this topic. I have some gifts for you girls.
Really?
Yeah.
We have all gifts.
Bald men love better. Here is just a nice bag for you, like,
Wait, can we
Yeah, you can open, you can pop it out, like,
Okay. Before we do it, and then you guys are like, don't show.
God.
So that's some shea butter for
Oh
you.
my God, it's called
Wait,
the
hold on.
culture. This
Yeah.
is so cute.
Wait, what is this? Oh, it's
That's
a t-shirt.
Yeah, it's a t-shirt. For
I don't know
bald
why
men
I
love
thought they were
better.
boxers.
Oh!
I was about to be like, it's like you don't know your people,
Not
whatever.
particularly, no, but that's a
Oh
t-shirt.
my
Ah,
Gosh.
nice.
Yeah, you can.
Thank you for getting me yellow. This is my color.
I'm
Was
actually
that
so glad that you
intentional?
gave me
I hope
black.
it was.
All right,
Either way,
hey,
it's just like,
Cachero, smooth ass nigga, man, just taking the win.
Actually,
But,
I really I did need razors. I was gonna buy today.
Yeah, those
so
razors are
this
dope,
is-
man. No bumps, nothing.
Vian, is this you?
Yeah, that's me and Aaron.
oh my days.
That's Aaron and I. But yes, like those gifts are just a small token from the Bald Men
Are
Association.
you just on everything?
That's much from
It's
the album.
the cockiness for me.
Paraculture.
Is he also on here?
He's on the lighter.
Yeah, there's a lighter.
No, he's not on the
Bald
lighter
Men
though.
love better.
Oh,
though.
this is so cute.
Yeah,
Thank
and
you
that's
so
from the
much,
Bald Men
guys.
Association to the ladies. We do it for the ladies. But yeah, man, I've had an amazing time. I'm going to end this by saying one thing. I was listening to Dave Chappelle speak, and he's talking about the first time he ever got like a big paycheck from comedy. And he was in New York, and he made $20,000. So he started in his duffel bag, and he got onto the train to go back to Brooklyn where he lived. And when he was in the train, he felt like everybody was looking at him and everybody wanted to come and harm him to take the 20K.
Mm-hmm.
That's how it feels to have a vagina every day.
Oh my God, that's actually perfect. Yeah, basically.
And so, guys, just be better men. And women, keep on being women. Just be women. Thank you. Bald man out.
And a woman.